Hey there, leavers and believers, and today, student leavers get a special mention. Welcome to Leaving Hillsong. My name's Tanya, and we are continuing a conversation with Yolandi B, who I've known for a number of years. She's been raising concerns about her experiences at Hillsong College, and we left off with her discussing being put on a team called Refresh, which essentially was a bathroom cleaning, freshening team, and it was a punitive measure where there's, rungs on the ladder at this college that is a very expensive college that Yolandi had gone to a lot of trouble to enrol in and worked hard to save up to get to Australia for. And when things didn't go well, according to leadership, she was part of the volunteer crew who are, as I'm voluntold to do things. And she spent, a lot of money to work for free. So last we left off, we were discussing what a practical would be during a course. And it's not cleaning floors. Yolandi engaged in an interview with Business Insider, and this conversation talks about the response that Hillsong College gave through its newsroom after that article came out. Here's part 2 of You're Going to Be Cleaning Floors.
Right, if I'm doing a design course, graphic design, I should be shadowing somebody that's doing graphics. I should be shadowing somebody that is working in that kind of industry, in the graphics industry. I shouldn't be cleaning their floors. Okay, that's not a part of the deal, unless I'm an intern where that's stated you are going to be cleaning floors. If you are doing a pastoral stream, you should be shadowing a pastor and doing pastoral things. That is working practicum. That's not doing practicum, doing random crap jobs. They are using this system to exploit students to basically fill in jobs. So they're not paying a general person taxes on their salary. They're just doing it for this, right? So that's what they're doing.
If it's such a practical thing, how come we don't see pastors on refresh teams then?
Oh, they will tell you that there was a pastor on refresh team when he was a student, which is always the same one, Lee Burns. But I mean, I think it's just to give that idea or to, again, lie. Maybe he was there serving once or twice as a fun thing with fun pictures, or as a student, but it shouldn't be there. Like, that is not the heart of what it is. Maybe pastoral from a serving point of view, I can get that, like we're serving people, but it's just being overshadowed constantly. That it's just built on lies. I'm just saying that it's not. Your main practicum should be your main practicum. It shouldn't be cleaning toilets, gardening. I mean, what does dance team have to do with washing cars, baking stuff, and working in a coffee shop? There's no difference. Maybe you're dancing in a coffee shop. I don't know. It's just, it's lies. It's all the smoke and mirrors, right?
And sticky tape. Students have raised concerns about excessive hours they are asked to work as volunteer work as part of their program at the college, and they say our greatest desire is that the unique practicum experiences will be beneficial to the student. It says nothing about 14-hour days at Colour Your World. All right, now I just want to move on. We're going to move on to this refresh. I mean, this article is 2 years old, and things are kind of changed since then, as we know.
I also don't think I noticed it due to COVID. So much happened with COVID. My mind was on what's happening with COVID, and so was the rest of the world. So it just kind of slipped my mind when I
you're obviously not that obsessed with Hillsong if you only bring it out now. You weirdo stalker. Okay. All right. So some of the former students in this story talk about the work they had to perform in Refresh. What is Refresh? And are there limits or controls on the amount of time someone serves in Refresh? And for some reason, they've just seized on your name, and they said when Ms. Kruger was a student, Refresh.
And they don't even have my name correct. I mean, they're writing my name like I don't know what. that's my maiden name, but I mean, I was like, what the hell is that?
A student was allocated to either an early or late time slot, and their total involvement was limited to no more than 20 hours a week. Refresh was the name of our volunteer and student practicum team that keeps our building clean during a week-long church conference.
So how is that, how is that relevant to pastoral work?
20 hours a week?
Did you ever see Lenz clean toilet in your entire life? I'm just asking. Did Brian Houston clean a toilet? Has he cleaned a toilet? Has he cleaned an auditorium? Has he stayed back to clean? Has Bobby? No, they haven't. They've never done this. Not
It's
in
a
any time that
volunteer.
I was
It's
there.
strange. Now, refresh teams of students and many other church volunteers serve during conferences and weekend services. This serve word, I tell you, student supervisors are instructed to ensure that all participants have ample time for meal breaks and that students can rest in between keeping the
30
building clean.
minutes.
Hmm?
Sorry, 30 minutes.
Was the break?
Yeah, depending, right? But sometimes you just don't have enough break. If you're working backstage, for instance, I know a lot of my old friends just didn't have that time. But for me, working refresh, I just I disappeared and I just sat on the stool and just pretended like I didn't work. I just couldn't, like, there were times, so I just did that to try and hide, because I would be cleaning toilets, like disgusting toilets. I mean, if you know how big Quadas Arena is and you've got students cleaning that, and you've got, let's say, I think we were 4 students in one bathroom, and there were maybe 6 bathrooms. So, but you know how busy it gets and how much cleaning you've got to do in one toilet?
And you had paid thousands of dollars to go to a college,
To do
perhaps
that.
not right.
And they allocate this. This is the other thing. They allocate where you serve. You don't choose where you serve. So if refresh is the bad one, this is for people that have issues. Just remember that as well. You only get put on refresh if you are questioning them, if you are a bad behaved student.
Well, it's only 20 hours a week. What are you complaining about? Now, is this you? It says here, one of the former students in our story, Yolando, which I'm going to call you for the rest of your life.
No,
Yolando.
please don't. Please.
Yolando Kruger.
Orlando
She
Bloom.
had to scrub toilets for 20 hours during her time in refresh. What is Hillsong's response to that? Well, what we like to do is gaslight anyone that complains. Like all students and volunteers on the refresh team, when Ms. Kruger was a student in 2012, she would have helped maintain the building during special events and conferences. Our guidelines would have prohibited any student or volunteer from performing a single task for 20 consecutive hours as part of this program. The refresh team was one of many diverse student teams serving during special events. These practicums give students exposure to the wide range of bathrooms, of activities involved in contemporary church life, while also helping them develop teamwork and leadership skills essential to any form of ministry. We are continuing devoting ever-increasing attention to student life balance and increased staff supervision and support for all aspects, students' practicum involvement, including the refresh team. So they didn't really respond very well. Hey,
that sounds like Brian Houston, doesn't it? Just when you read that, I just heard it.
Like Scott Morrison. This is his.
I wonder if he wrote that. I'm just wondering, because that just sounds like Brian Houston writing that, just when you read it out like that. Maybe it's just the way you've read it, but we won't know. But it definitely sounds like Brian Houston.
So vague.
So just to correct as well, because obviously this was just popped onto their thing without any context. Obviously this was between 2 lawyers, a substantially more, I guess, experienced lawyer in the US for Business Insider, Vanity Fair, compared to their general lawyer that's sitting inside of their pews, right? Or whoever else was basically compiling those answers. Now, 20 hours was over a 3-day period, right? Or a 2-day period. Sorry, I think it was a 2-day period. So it was 10 hours, but it was consecutive, where there was basically no sleeping. I don't even think it was 20 hours, probably more. It was probably about 30 hours, because we would get there at, I still have to do the exact math as well, but you could do the math. We would get there at probably around about 7 o'clock in the morning, because it's an hour, 2 hours away. So we would already leave around about 4 a.m. in the morning. We'd get to the church, we'd wait. It was dark, right? There was no sun shining. And then we would all be piled onto buses, and we would get onto the bus, and then we would be prepared or prepped by our team leader already, some of us, right, on the bus, and we would sit with that team, and then we would head to Quadas Arena, or if it was somewhere in Homebush, I think, for the Colour Conference. And when we got there, we would then be allocated into our teams, and then we would be briefed on the day. And then we would start around about 7 o'clock, and then we would stop around about 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, go home, sleep for an
Wow.
hour or two, and then get onto the bus again to leave. Some people could leave later because they had later assignments, so there was another bus that went for them. But the refresh people started bright and early because we needed to make sure that everything was freshened up, whether that was a backstage or whether that was, wherever else. But it was
This is
essentially like,
insane. This is
it's just,
crazy.
it is, yeah.
Come
I
on
mean,
now.
I don't know how many
That's
hours
just,
that is. I have to count the hours. It was a lot of
wow.
hours. But as a student, it's, it's super tiring. You just
So
don't
you're
feel.
spending the entire conference in the bathrooms.
Yeah, you are. So my team, what ended up
Wow.
happening with me is I was first placed on toilets, and then I was scrubbing the toilets downstairs. But then they had another student that probably had behavioral issues that came on our team, and they said, "Well, can we swap you, and then you just do the backstage?" I think my team leader liked me, and he was like, "You're fine to just go do backstage, go clean the backstage," which I'm grateful he did because I got to see all the opulence backstage when I went into, the green room and into the, the room that Beth Moore was in, for instance, at Colour,
Mhm.
where I could actually see all the gifts that was being lavished on them. The Park Hyatt little card that would, with all the details of them staying at Park Hyatt, and Bobby's little kisses on the glass mirror. So things like that I could see because I was cleaning the backstage as well. But they were swapping things. So there were parts of the students as well that were cleaning up spills. So as soon as somebody had like a coffee spill or something, they would rush with a mop and clean it in Quartus. So it's a big place. And I don't think the team was bigger than like maybe 50 students, the refresh team. So you can understand the
Okay.
kind of leverage of tiredness in that group because it's only 50 people for, I don't know how many people can Quadas. Let's Google that.
I'm going to
So
move you
Quadas
along.
Arena can accommodate up to 21,000 visitors.
It's a lot of toilet.
So, I mean, if there's 21,000 visitors, it's a packed stadium, right? Because I believe that year Hillsong conference was sold out. And you've got 50 to 100 students that are cleaning toilets. Do you know the amount of hours that it will take per team? I mean,
How
yeah.
does that kind of work in an environment? I mean, when you're a cleaner and you're going to work, it's a job and it's a respectable
And you're being
profession.
paid $30,
When you're a
$40 an hour.
student,
Yeah.
how does it make you feel as the days go on, being stuck doing that? I mean, what effect does it have on people?
The effect it had on me, first of all, was really bad because I was in the choir. Essentially, I was loved by my peers, and you've seen the videos of how they adored me, and they were saying all these
Yeah,
beautiful
yeah.
things and all of that. And going from that person who was super popular with her friends and her peers, and then being placed into a situation where she's now on refresh, and everybody's asking the question, "Why are you on refresh?" Because we know how bad refresh is. And then
Oh.
essentially your mental health just deteriorates, and everyone's like, "Oh, weren't you in the choir?" And you're, "No, not anymore. I was put on refresh." "Oh, we're so sorry. We know," like everybody knew instinctively if you were put on the refresh team, you were just, the worst of the worst. So it
And the
mentally it does a lot
actual,
to you. It's demeaning way. I mean, what kind of church does
mm,
that? Very sick.
well,
Sick.
very, very clear class system. Anyway, Yolando, they said here,
Oh, it is.
Yolandi Kruger said she was called to a meeting by Dwayne Raitt in 2012
And I
and
can't
told
believe they
essentially,
actually put his name on there because he's the guy that was stalking me. But okay, thank you that you've now put the name out there, so it's fine. I didn't say his name due to the fact that I didn't want to be sued by him or by them, but they've publicly put his name in that.
this man said, and who is he? Sorry, who's Dwayne Raitt?
He was the property officer for Hillsong.
What's that
It's
mean?
So he was like looking after the property, like making sure like the security basically, like I guess security, but also
Okay.
making sure the building, like the building guy,
Maintenance
like
dude.
maintenance, not maintenance, but like making sure that the building, almost like the building manager.
So why was it up to him to say, as you apparently said, look, we've had it with you. You couldn't conform to our ideas and we need to let you go and you need to leave within
This is
48
my
hours.
this was my
48 hours.
whole this was my whole thing, right? Because I didn't understand like how why he was involved with, with everything. Like, what was the point of him being in the conversation at first, and they
Well,
just said
yeah.
like he's like the security manager or whatever of Hillsong campus, and that was weird. And then I met him, and on a Sunday I had to check in with him, and he also allocated like a seat for me where I was allowed to sit like a bad person, because I wasn't allowed to be too close to whoever they wanted me to be close to. And I had to check in with him to make sure that I was going to the services and not to my other church services at Dayspring. But yeah, it was concerning, because I was like, who is this guy? He's not my tutor. He's not giving any classes. Like, he's just this British dude that is following me around. So I think he
Well,
was kind of the man handler or the girl handler.
there's always been a lot of henchmen. People don't know that,
This is a real one, yeah.
Yeah, they'll never really get addressed by the people in question. It'll be some fix-it guy that gets sent over.
I can't actually find his LinkedIn either, probably because people were Googling him or whatever. I just can't find.
I mean, these people are some noble people. They say, without disclosing details that would violate our privacy obligations, because policy is number one at Hillsong, we can confirm that according to our records, Ms. Kruger met with 2 staff members on the 25th of July, 2012, who advised her that she would not be included in enrolment for a second semester due to her concerning behaviour. Love it. Hillsong College had received a significant, I love the word, I was accused of significant disruption. You can be concerning behaviour, I'll be significant disruption. Because what is significant? A significant number of complaints from her teachers and other students, including roommates. And they don't say anything about, we followed our policy according to, student conflict, and we had a resolution, and we had some mediation, and we had some intervention. No, Ms. Kruger's behaviour resulted in her being evicted from her student residence on 4 separate occasions.
Which is not true, because I've got all the evidence to this. I've got all the emails and the evidence to back this up. Only once. It's a lie. You can't get evicted 4 times.
No, you get right. And these are cited as reasons for her not returning for another semester. Each incident was fully investigated and addressed with her. Her assertion that she was denied enrolment because she didn't conform to Hillsong College's beliefs, or that we were dismissive of her as a person, are untrue. We have entered into all kinds of... No, I'm joking. They've got no peacemaking. They just said, no, you're lying. We don't lie, and you're lying.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're saying.
Your
right?
behaviour. What is this? I've known you a long time. What is this concerning behaviour that you've been up to? Like,
I'd love to know as well. I mean,
are you twerking? Are you like, what are you doing? It sounds slimy and dirty and filthy. Like, what is it?
I mean,
why is it?
What? I just, it was definitely not at the level that they tried to make it out. Like I've said to you before, I remember that one conversation with the Susan Smith lady, and she was going, I hear your voice more than, and I hear your name more than Brian Eustace. And I was like, what? I don't know what that means, But anyway, I think, there was definitely issues with the girls in my house because of the stress that I've mentioned before. But I was definitely by no means the only person that was having issues with the girls in their house. Because of Yolando was having issues with,
Yolando
with issues with girls. But just to finalize what I was going to say, there was a multitude of issues within their homes, not just with the girls, but with the guys as well, because of the stress they were putting, the expectations and the stress that they were placing on individuals. So that was coming out. Yes, we all had issues of our own, but it was not to the extent of it being concerning to that point.
Please don't justify.
No, it's good to know, because people do ask this question. They're like, they're going to read that, and a potential student's going to read that.
This is a smear campaign. This is another.
It is 100%.
It's a domestic violence response, because when truth comes out about abusive behaviour, the way to address it is to point the finger at the victim and try and discredit them. This is as disgusting as anything I've ever seen. It's general. It's lingering. It's got these lingering. You're concerning. It's gaslighting. It's vile. Sorry, how do you feel about it when you saw it last night?
I felt so upset. Like, when I read it again, I just felt all like righteous anger, not anger in any you know,
You can
I've
be
never
angry.
been
You're
an
allowed to be angry.
I've never been that kind of
I know.
angry
I
person.
know.
I'm like the most unangry person. Like, I get over something so quickly. Anybody that knows me knows that, right? And I just don't. I'm just not an angry person. So, but last night I just felt really upset by what I was reading. I was feeling super upset, and yeah, I just feel like it's a lie and it's a smear campaign. It's not giving context. If they gave context, it would have been better. But it was basically just like, she had concerning behavior. We're not, no, we're just going to smear her and pretend like she's this terrible person. And I think that that's disgusting. I don't even know how to put it. I don't even know how to
Wow.
portray my feelings the correct way. Like, how do I say this? Like, what they did to me when I started there, and how they branded me from a Christian perspective. Let me put it this way, right? From a Christian perspective, you would expect a Christian organization to go, look, we understand that there were differences. We parted ways with let's say Miss Kruger back then. We pray and love the best for her. We won't be commenting further on her mental state or on situations that may have arisen. That would have been a good Christian answer,
Mhm.
right? But instead they go the opposite. They go,
Mm.
she's got behavioral issues that
Quite
and
concerning.
and they lie as well, because they're not going to check their facts. They say that I was thrown out of my accommodation 4 times, which is a lie. That's just essentially a lie, because I've got the evidence as well. I was literally just told to leave, and I exited my house. Where else was I staying during
Mm,
the other
mm.
4 times? I wasn't staying anywhere
So
else.
strange. So
Um,
strange. But they
so
don't
yeah,
list whatever your concerning behaviour is, because they're so concerned about people's privacy. They said they couldn't possibly
but they're not
tell
concerned
anybody.
enough about my privacy. But to put that out, they're already telling people that, oh, she's had extremely concerning behavior. But I mean, they're already mentioning that. So, but they're just trying to PR play. That's what they do. It kind of just paints a picture in people's minds, and I think that
Yeah,
that's what makes me so angry. Because
yeah.
if I was the only student that came out and said that there were issues within Hillsong College, then I could understand that people would question that. But I'm not the only student. There's a group
Well,
full of students. There's hundreds of students
hundreds of
complaining,
students.
in
But
that group.
even in this piece, even Hillsong is listing at least 3 people. So because they then go on to, I mean, they mention another student immediately after you, Lando. Immediately after that, they talk about a former student from 2017 that raised concerns about volunteer labour, and she has sent complaints off. There's also another student named there. It's just incredible.
And then they admit that there were incidences in that actual thread as well that did occur. So they're saying it doesn't occur at all, but did occur. That's like to me, that's crazy, because they're literally saying, yes, it did occur. We did have an investigation and it happened. And then they go, no, it didn't happen. But Yolandi's
Yeah,
lying.
which
And
is,
that's what they did to me most of my time there. I think what really was the crux of what was happening there was the fact that I just wouldn't shut up, and I just didn't do as I was told. And I really stick to that. I do know that I did have issues with the girls. There were some really, bad bullying situations within my house with some of the girls there that came from backgrounds that were just plain bullying. And I think I don't know if I sent you the message that that old friend of mine that I had that was staying with me in the house, that actually, is actually, I think she's working for the college actually. But she even said that, I'm so sorry for our part. It wasn't handled correctly. It was incorrect. And I felt really bad about it. And so even she admitted that, yes, there were issues in that house that were just not dealt with correctly or fairly towards me.
If anybody wants to hear more details of Yolandi's story, the episode is called A Contestant in Their Game. I think there's 2 parts, and she outlines her experiences in a lot more detail there.
I just want to add in that if any parents want to talk to me and reach out to me before they place their kids in Hillsong College, please feel free to send me a message, and I'm happy to.
Where do they find you? Where do they find you?
Just get in touch with Leaving Hillsong, and I'm
Yeah,
happy with
that's
anybody
easy.
that wants any information regarding my time there, because there's a lot of information that might not be out there in the media, and it's a
Great.
decision.
Great. Thank you so much. This is such important
Pleasure.
stuff, and there's hundreds of people that are listening to this and really getting so much out of it, because you've boldly gone where no student seems to want to go. We'll talk to you very soon. Thank you, Yolandi.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much to Yolandi for always standing strong and speaking so strongly. She's not hesitating. You can tell she absolutely believes what she's saying, and she's been a real voice and a real advocate for a lot of people. I think it's a very inspiring story. I would really encourage college students to reach out and feel free to come tell your story. It's actually really difficult knowing who wants to speak on this podcast, so if you want to talk, by all means get in touch. I never want to pressure anyone and never want to leave anyone out, so send us a message and we can figure out what you want to do with your story. This particular story isn't finished yet. Surprise, surprise. Laura Hamilton decided that she would go over her part in this article, in this response that Hillsong gave. So hang on, and she'll complete the other statements that were made from this newsroom. And that won't be long, but until then, keep being kind to yourselves, keep being kind to the people around you, and stay strong while you keep leaving Hillsong. We'll talk soon. Bye.